going to talk about Counter-Strike 2, and we're going to talk about Valve, and we're going to talk about Counter-Strike 2 and all the money it earns, and we're going to talk about Valve and how Valve don't care. They definitely don't care. They don't care about the games. They don't care about anything. They churn out shit, and Gabe Newell squats over all of us in the esports scene and sprays our face with his warm, eggy diarrhea, and we go, "Oh, thanks, Gabe, and I love that. I love you. Can I have some more?" Right? That's what happens, yeah? That's what Reddit says. That's Reddit talking, not me. And one of the things I've noticed, this trend that I've noticed, is every time there's a news story pertaining to money and CS making money, through cases, through stickers, whatever it is, we fall into this same pathetic argument. And this is an important video to make, and I hope it gets as much traction as my CSGO wasn't perfect video. It's going to be shorter. This won't be 4 hours. But I think it's important to understand, because I've talked to people behind the scenes, and I want to make something abundantly clear. So I'm going to front load the video with the important bit, because people don't have attention spans. And it's this. I have been holding back on the review of Counter-Strike 2 that I'm going to do, because I've reviewed all the versions of Counter-Strike. I reviewed like pro mods, even stuff like that. And so just as a continuance of my career, I want to review Counter-Strike 2, and I'm going to review the game, and I'm going to review the esport, as I did for Valorant when I got early access for Valorant. And I think having a sober take on the game, instead of me quickly like knocking out a 10-minute YouTube video going, "Why CS2 sucks?" I don't want to do that, because even though it would get 500,000 views, what I want to do is talk about the game, where it can improve, and how it impacts on the esport, and where it can improve, and what's actually good, because there are good things. But anyway, I was talking to people behind the scene, and this is what you have to understand. Money isn't the bottleneck. Talked about this a lot. Everybody thinks you can make any problem disappear with money. Now, anyone with a brain knows that isn't true, but we're talking about esports fans. So you will see time and time again, people in these threads, "Valve make money" is the headline, and the response in the comments is, "Small indie company can't even make an anti-cheat. Small indie company can't even make a good game." And what people don't understand, and what I've been explicitly told, is this. The Source 2 engine is insane. Like, it's really, really good. And it has all these, like, incredible things you can do. And obviously, I was around when the first Source engine came out, and it broke everyone's brains. You couldn't believe, like, this incredible physics engine could sort of exist. And Half-Life 2 was an incredible showcase for it. Now, the problem when you make a new engine is the only people that really know how the engine works, what the limitations are, what you can and can't do, how to put things in it and make it work without any bugs or issues, is the people that made the engine. And the people who made the Source 2 engine have done incredible work at Valve. And they have hired people to come and work on this engine and work on these new games. But the problem is expertise. The Source 2 engine is so incredibly sophisticated and complicated and powerful as a tool. There's a handful of people right now that could sit down and comfortably use it. And Valve are trying to get more and more people to a level of expertise where they can quickly turn around things, but it is not happening. Or rather, it is happening, but it's not happening at the pace the CS2 community would like. I.e., right fucking now, today, I want my game to be the game I like. So they are doing it, and they are improving, and it's going to get better, and things are going to get easier. But you have to understand that we are not just making a sequel. We are not just adding content. We're not just porting a game across to a different system. We are creating a replica of CSGO in an entirely new engine. We're getting rid of all the spaghetti code that has held CSGO back and stopped it from being perfect in the past. They're getting rid of that. They're refining it. There's so much to do. And they've been doing it behind the scenes. But as I've said, and I shouldn't have to explicitly say this again, but I'm going to, beta development and post-release development are two different beasts. If you know anything about games development, you know what I'm saying is true. When you're creating a beta or getting a game ready for beta and you're bringing it out of alpha, you are really looking at the broad functionality of the game. You want it to work. It is not about refinement at that stage. It is about, what is the goal of the game? What are we doing with the game? How can people play the game? And, how will the game work and all these other issues? And then in beta, and by the way, this is just an extended beta. I have no idea why they called it a full release. I do not know why they did that. It's the dumbest thing they've ever done. It's the root cause of a lot of these issues. But once the game is released into beta, that is when you do the refinements, and that is when you do the fixes, and that is when you add the content, and that is when you make the wholesale changes. That is how it works, and that's where we're at now. And those things are happening. And by the way, people complaining about them not working December, Valve don't, historically never have. You will very rarely get updates over December. It is a handful of people who go into the offices. They have the corporate holiday and everything else. They even had a month off in the time since it's been released, right? And they're entitled to a vacation, like everybody else. So I get it. I'm not satisfied with CS2 as a entry in this great, fantastic game. For me, the pinnacle of team-based esports, and maybe even the pinnacle of just competitive team play in a video game. Although I would argue, if Dota is a much better feeling when you win. But I also have been around enough, and I've said this the other day, every version of Counter-Strike is fucked on release. It just is. Source was a nightmare. I can't explain enough how bad Source was. Like in 2004. The LAN version that got put out, and then 2005 when it went on general. I can't explain to you. You would have to be there to truly understand how bad it was, how many bugs there were, how many inconsistencies. So, I want people to understand this. This is what is happening at Valve right now. They are teaching people how to use this incredibly powerful engine. They are porting across the content. You're going to get all the maps you want. You're going to get some new ones. You are, of course, going to get an operation post-major. I would bet that's coming. No insight, by the way, but it's just obvious that there's going to be some content in their new game, right? Makes sense. It's going to be there, but it's going to take time. And you are realistically looking at 6 to 12 months. By the way, I would also bet it's all hands on pumps to make this game actually competitively playable for the major, so we don't get another fucking WCG 2005 Singapore nightmare where we have a world championship with a game so fucked up and broken that it casts aspersions on the final standings table. Also a tournament where the qualifiers were 1.6 and the finals were played on Source, if you can believe that, for a fucking stupid idea. But anyway, the point is, the money doesn't mean anything. And Valve make money, and they're very good at making money. They were at one time the most profitable company per head in the entire of America. But where we're at now, we're going to need patience and time. There was someone in the chat said, can we not criticize them? No, you absolutely can. You have to be realistic in your criticism, though. And crying, well, you made $1 billion and I want anti-cheat. It doesn't work like that. Why haven't I got trained? Why isn't this map here? It doesn't work like that. You're going to have to wait. All the money in the world will not change the reality. But why don't they just hire more people? They are, and then they have to train them. Like, every criticism I read on the subreddit is not based in reality. It is stupid. It is whining. It is pathetic. If you want to criticize Valve, why did you release it this early? Why didn't you call it a beta? These are the types of criticism that are valid. So anyway, I just want to go through all of these and just show you and demonstrate, because we've had this slew of headlines about the money that Valve are making right now, and it's the same shit every time. Obviously, right at the start of 2024, HLTV, and I believe this was an exclusive, they had the Paris Major sticker earnings exceed 110 million, and I can confirm that number. This is all accurate. The Paris Major was by far the most successful major of all time when it comes to the sticker sales. Qualifying for a major has become an extremely lucrative endeavor in recent years. Earning from the sales of teams and player stickers have been growing exponentially, dwarfing the 1 million prize pot on offer. In 2019, Valve revealed that stickers from the Star Ladder Major Berlin paid out over $11 million to the participating teams and players. With CSGO's popularity continuing to rise and the COVID pandemic putting majors on hold for nearly 2 years, that payout increased threefold. The PGL Stockholm and Antwerp tournaments in 2021 to 2022 paid out a whopping $70 million combined, according to a Valve blog post, which celebrated the game's 10th anniversary. Nothing, though, can quite compare to last year's Blast TV Paris Major. According to information gathered by HLTV and Dust2 Brazil from various team sources who wish to remain anonymous, the total earnings from the most recent major alone surpassed a staggering 110 million. This amounts to 4.5 million per team on average, but differs based on sales of each capsule, which is divided equally between the 8 teams, or 40 players for signature capsules in it. It is worth noting that these numbers don't include Vitality's Champions capsule. So, these numbers are massive. And if you wondered why so many of these fucking orgs that said, CS will never be profitable, there's no way to run it, we're leaving, sorry, Overwatch just makes more sense, sorry, Valorant just makes more sense. If you wondered why they all came back for the fucking shit show of the RMRs, now you know. It's that cynical. They don't care about the game. They're an esports org. They don't care about the game. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the ecosystem. They just care about getting theirs. And they do that through the sticker money, which they all talk to each other. Every team owner that came back heard about, went up to 110 million at Paris. Now, the reaction to that, by the way, well, there's multiple things. First of all, that's why we don't have a TI. Valve were on record last time they did public interviews on this matter, which you're probably going back to 2015, maybe 2014 for. I can't remember the exact year, but I believe it was an interview on PC Gamer. And they said, we don't believe an international style tournament with crowdfunding is the right way to go for CS. That was, for a time, a very contentious point with the community. A lot of the community actually wanted one of those events. I've even said, I would like to see what happens. I would like to see a crowdfunded World Championship event and see how it stacks up and compares to TI. I have a feeling we'd beat it, but it's irrelevant. They're not going to do it. But now you also sort of realize why. Because think about having a crowdfunded event and giving out these life-changing amounts of money to orgs and blah, blah, blah. But then look at what this also does for the ecosystem, where teams can pull in 4.5 million just in sticker sales alone. Shared sticker sales, irrelevant as to whether your brand is as popular as the other brand in the capsule. And that's easily going to clear the cost of having a team for a year and beyond. So that's why we don't have that. The other thing is, you should look at this and go, all that pissing and moaning about the CS ecosystem being bad and bad for these teams and all these owners who told you we just can't afford it and all the people who packed up early and stopped projects, and then fucked off and then came crawling back. And I am talking about Cloud9 because it's not just the TSMs of this world that did it. This ecosystem is sustainable. Actually, if you can be one of the teams that qualify to the major and get the stickers, it's generally going to work out as having made sense. And also, because of the signature capsules, the players get an insane extra little bonus on top of their insane salaries and cut of the prize money that they keep, which in some cases is 100%. CS players are still fucking the kings of esports and eating well. So the reaction to this article was kind of like, I don't know, it goes on Reddit and it started then. And it's the same old criticism, which doesn't make sense. And you can see, obviously, there's some talk here about, wow, that's like $200,000 per player. That's great. That's why qualifying is big. This is great for the scene. Okay. Then you see stuff like this. That's why they can't program a good AC. Not enough money. No money to invest in anti-cheat. Valve puts low effort into game. That's enough money to develop GTA 5 just from sticker money for one major. Not even cases money, Steam Marketplace fee money, not operation money. Come on, Valve. Show some magic with CS2. Now think of how much more they make from cases, and people wonder why Valve doesn't work on CS. Right? And this is the other argument, and you'll see this a lot. People go, oh, well, it makes money anyway, so Valve wouldn't want to update it. Do you think that's sustainable? Do you think that's a good fucking idea? Do you think like, oh, this thing makes us a fuck ton of money, let's just never update it and make it good? And eventually when people walk away from it, we'll have lost the cash cow. We'll have essentially killed the goose that laid the golden egg. Or do you think actually they have a vested interest in working in it because it clearly is a profitable game? Which one is it? Well, in the eyes of Reddit, it make money, so they don't work on it. That's literally how they think. It's so fucking bizarre to me that you could even arrive at that conclusion. And especially when you consider if, by the way, Valve didn't care about games and didn't want to make games, they literally can stop that tomorrow, focus on VR, focus on the Steam Deck. They never need to work another day in their lives at Valve. They never need to make anything. They made Steam. They changed the world with Steam. It's not even an exaggeration. If you're a gamer, you should just love Valve forever, regardless. You should always want to give them leeway. Because I'm old enough to remember having to go down a fucking game on a weekend and hope that the game I wanted was there in a box, and buy it and then take it home and then hope that the fucking game worked and it wasn't a defective CD or disc even. Because that used to happen, and then you'd have to take it back. Now, I can sit at home, buy the game, set it to download, and it is on my machine within minutes. That's all because of Steam. If you went around at the time, by the way, people were fucking unreal resistant to Steam when it first came out. Having to just move across from your fucking One ID and all this stuff. All the arguing, a bit, it's been the same since fucking time immemorial. The shit people used to fucking cry about. And every time, Valve get to a point where it's like you can't live without the shit. It's actually really good. So we're going through that cycle again. But this stupidity is just creating this weird environment where, if I'm a Valve developer, I'm just like, I don't even know if I want to fucking sit down, spend my time learning. Remember how Valve work? You sign up for a project you're interested in, you get put about, I'm going to learn the Source 2 engine and all of its flaws and facets and incredible power and utility. I'm going to learn all of these things to work on a game where every day the fans of that game are pretending we're not doing anything and we don't care. By the way, the number of updates since CS2 went on release compared to the number of updates early in Source's life cycle, it's day and night. And we know there's another big one in the pipeline. But they seem to have stayed off doing it while the RMRs are on. Which, again, thought that was a change we wanted. No major update and changes in the middle of a tournament for competitive integrity. So, anyway, fuck Valve for making money. Okay, all right. Well, Richard, you're cherry picking again. You always do this. So another story made it onto Reddit, and this was CS2 Case Tracker. And CS2 Case Tracker published a little infographic which shows all how many people are buying keys, and basically just to give you the Cliff's Notes, they said there was something like 400 million cases unboxed, with 359.6 million keys consumed, $980 million US spent, case prices increasing by 178%, and obviously it shows that in 2023, despite lackluster release of a new title, they have absolutely smashed records. And that's for the year. And so, anyway, that was an update to a thread prior to that, where I think Jake Lucky said they made $40 million in the first month of release, which those numbers look to be, maybe accurate based on the totality of it. And everyone said the same thing there. So, you go into it and you go, well, surely people aren't going to say that Valve don't care about the game because they're making all this money. And we all know money fixes everything, guys, right? Well, no, obviously they're going to do it again, aren't they? Why make the game better when you can get the same amount for doing nothing? Literally, why? Don't think, buy skin, buy case, ooh, look, it's shinier now. Top comment. It is an infinite money glitch for Valve. This is the other thing. I don't think people in general realize that number, as big as it is a drop in the bucket compared to what they make from Steam. They take a sizable percentage of every sale of every game on their platform. And that's before you even get into fees and other specific deals they make with certain companies, before you get into like global distribution and all this other stuff. Like, Steam it operates in China, for fuck's sake, even with the reduced 60 games or whatever. Then on top of that, you've got the Steam marketplace, and they take cuts of every sale on that. What do you think is the real infinite money glitch? It certainly isn't the game content. In fact, I would wager that while it's wicked that they're making money from these games, because ultimately it justifies the development of the games, they probably don't really think too much about that shit, because the money of Valve isn't the broader issue, right? Like, they make money. They will always make money. There's been multiple attempts to try and stop Steam because it's got a functional monopoly. And boo-hoo-hoo, we were late to the party. So, sales of a popular game on Steam will knock those numbers into next week. They don't. It's nothing. It's so. If you think that they sit around going, fucking hell, if only there was a way to make like a shit video game that everyone buys items for, and it's shit, but they can't stop buying the items, and they're addicted to buying the items, and we make all this money off it, and then we're gonna lay all the money out, and we're gonna roll around on it like we're in Breaking Bad. Nah, mate. That's not how it goes at all. I've talked to Valve developers many times. I've talked to various Valve staffers. And I'll say one thing. I still think that while they're the best of all the developers I've ever interacted with, they're still kooky. They're games developers. They're all fucking kooky. And they're all full of themselves. And they all believe their ideas are the best. The one thing I would never say about Valve is that they don't care about their games. Never. Would never say that in a million years. For example, and how immensely proud they were of the work that went into TF2. I know of how, how much, how fucking hard they worked to make that fucking director in Left 4 Dead, which, by the way, some of the best in-game AI of, all time. And I know they love those fucking titles, and they're super proud of it. And so, no, to say they don't care, and you look at things like Portal, and just the level of polish, and the level of craft, and they do care, and they care about their legacy, When they've had clunkers, which they haven't had many of, right? But Artifact really hurt them. The booze, when they announced at TI that it was a card game, really hurt them. The failure of the game, despite them doing everything right, ostensibly, and they developed a sophisticated card game. They worked with the guy who created Magic, Richard Garfield, or whatever he's called. That really hurt them. And then they quickly tried to, we can snowball that into this auto battler here. That's popular. We'll do Dota Underlords, and that's not popular anymore. That's dead. And that really hurt them too. So they definitely care about the legacy. I mean, people say, TF2's, fucking abandoned. It got, a massive content patch last year, and I know it was worked in tandem with Valve and the community. But that's a game. Most developers, if you're an EA or an Ubisoft, you pick one out of a hat. You walk away from those games. You don't develop fucking content for games that are, fucking that old, 15 fucking years old or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? You just don't. You don't unless it's a game as a service. And even then, you usually make sequels. So the bottom line is, I know that they definitely do feel a lot of pride about the games that they make. And they do take it seriously. And I've met the CS team. And, there are some old stalwarts there who have been at Valve and worked on CS since the start. And they do care about CS. And it's outrageous to imply that just because they're well paid and they've got equity in the company and they're getting a profit share and they're getting a massive bonus for these performances, that they don't. Because that's just not who they are. But anyway, Reddit knows best. Shit will never be done as long as people don't vote with their wallets. Imagine if they spent just 20 million of that and hired the best of the best AC developers to make an AC outside of Valve's very comfortable offices. A man can dream. But that would mean less profit. Again, what is this idea? You don't understand philosophy. Valve's philosophy is that they want to make VAC the best anti-cheat they can within the parameters of they don't want you to have to download external software. That philosophy could change. They might one day just come out and go, listen, we hear you, we made a kernel level anti-cheat, it's a brand new thing, you have to download to play our competitive games, though. They could do it, right? But they don't want to do it. They believe that actually this cat and mouse game of kernel level anti-cheat, because you can bypass. Of course, there's kernel level cheats. Of course, there is that bypass kernel level anti-cheats. It's always been cat and mouse. It's an arms race. It always has been. They want to create something that foregoes the arms race. That's why they looked into VAC Live. That's why they explored AI. That's their philosophy. They don't want to hire the dickheads that made Vanguard, Chinese malware, Chinese spyware on your machine, taking, as I've done in a previous video, all sorts of data, and then them going, we only take what's necessary, when they're literally taking your Facebook friends and shit like this. They don't want to make an anti-cheat like that. They want VAC to be the best. And they've made updates to VAC since this has gone live. And what does Reddit say? They don't care. They're not updating anything. VAC isn't turned on. There's a cheater in every game. Blah, blah, blah. It's the same shit. Now, I don't know if VAC is ever going to be revolutionary. I don't know if VAC's ever going to stop all the cheaters. But what I do know is they have all the money they want. We've established that. This isn't about money. It's about philosophy and expertise. These things are the bottlenecks that you're angry about. It's got nothing to do with money. If you're one of these brain-dead Redditors that rush to Reddit every time you hear about Valve's incredible profits, and you go, oh, but why don't they spend? And they do. They employ people who literally work on the anti-cheat. They have a VAC team, and they work on it. They have made new hires. They might even have hired people to the anti-cheat team, right? But, again, when you hire someone, you've got to have a cultural fit. You've got to have an impressive CV. Can you work in the notoriously strange Valve environment where you have to be autonomous and do your own projects and all of this stuff? It's never as simple as just, you made an anti-cheat, I hire you, come work for me. It's not that simple at all. It's so stupid to even do these criticisms. You can see there, somebody points out what I'm saying and they go, they could basically do nothing but drinking coffee and still make the same money. And he goes, could? They already do. This is so great. They can now use all the money to work on the game. Things like fixing a geometry on Vertigo. They didn't even crack 1 billion. And you guys expect them to work on and update their game? They're, like, objectively doing that, by the way. All this for a mid-ass game. Like, by the way, also, if you don't like the game, can we get to the point where, like, just fuck off? Fuck off, go away, stay gone, play a better game, go to Valorant, please. Please do. Please do. I would love the community to be cut in half, for it to be a smaller size, right? And just all the dickheads go and play another game and whine about that, right? I'd love that. That'd be wicked. But you, what do? You complain about how shit the game is, but you can't stop playing. You've got a mental problem, you know? Just saying it. Because when I don't like video games, I don't play them. When I don't like films, I turn them off. When I don't like books, I put them down. I don't complain about them, like, while simultaneously forcing myself to engage with it. Just a thought. Valve won't be bothered updating until a better 5v5 tactical shooter comes out. I mean, yeah, they don't have any rivals, do they? There's no, like, Call of Duty, there's no Valorant. Yeah, okay, great theory. They have zero incentive to fix the anti-cheat, and people wonder why they rushed an unfinished CS2 out the door. Small indie company, can't use their profits for the game. Gambling is straight fire. I love children gambling. Gaben probably We've hit the anti-gambling part. 128 sub tick. It's not too late. I want to just put this in a video as well. I'm sure I've said this before. The tick cells are the worst because they're morons. They don't even understand fundamentally Valve's thinking on this issue. So everyone says 128 tick, 128 tick. They don't do 128 tick because of the money. No, here's the reality. Again, I know this. I've heard it directly. The 128 tick argument about it being about cost is wrong. It's never been about money. And as we've established, why would anything Valve do be about money? Riot are laying off 530 people and saying their games aren't, some of their projects aren't profitable. Let me know when Valve are doing that, right? They've got the money, but they believe, and have always believed, the game is optimized around 64 tick. They've always believed that. They believed it in CSGO. They used to say to people, if you're playing on 128 tick, you're not getting a better game, you're not getting the optimal experience, it's just twice, you've just got twice as many updates, and it will cause inconsistencies in the game as far as we're concerned. They've never supported the idea of 128 tick. They just never shut it down that people were doing it. And this, again, I've heard it directly. So when this game come out and they wanted to do sub-tick, which, by the way, sub-tick in theory should be one of the best things to ever happen to online FPS netcode since forever, right? And if they can get it working and feeling good, again, this will be way better than CSGO, right? But they believe it has to be on 64 tick. Everything they're doing on the sub-tick is based around 64 tick. It's not money. It's game design philosophy. Again, they believe the game is optimal on 64 tick. They believe sub-tick will work optimally with 64 tick and will not play nice with any other tick rate. That is why they have changed it. That is why they have stopped, for the first time, Faceit from offering 128 tick. They've stopped people being able to change the tick rate. And good, because we would only divide the community. That's that. It's not money. Again, you're a moron if you think it's money. I don't know how many times you have to establish it's not about money. They're spending the money on Dota. Meanwhile, on the Dota subreddit, well, why don't we get everything we want all of the time? Yeah. You need to stop feeding Valve money with this gash-ass game. Did he mean gacha game, or is he actually trying to say it's gash? I don't know. Valve sucks. It's a shame Riot made Valorant a kids game. That's Reddit is dead posting on Reddit. Imagine if they invested back 10%. At this point, Valve is reaching EA levels of scum. Imagine even thinking that. Imagine thinking Valve as a company is comparable to EA, who rob you all blind every single fucking year. Now, anyway, that thread just happens and, mods don't seem to care about it. And then the same story gets recycled, right? Again. And this time on Insider Gaming. It's the exact same information. And guess what? We're going to do a run back. Here it is. Just a rework. And it's the same shit. Valve will be like, successful game, guys. Nothing to worry about. Far from dead. It is a gambling game with an FPS element. 1 billion, and they refuse to revamp or hire more staff to work in it. They've hired staff. They've hired staff. They've provably hired staff. You can go look at their tweets. Started work with Valve. Super psyched to do it. My first project with Valve. All of this stuff. Will they hire more devs then? And then what? With their current structure, these devs will work on CS2 on their 3-month trial before securing their job and then move to Steam Deck or a Steam OS project or anything else. Valve literally has a money printing machine with this game, and they have like only 50 people maintaining CS2. 50? Dream on, man. And everyone there says, wow, 50 people? I don't, too many. What a greedy company. I hope they will get what they deserve. I mean, I just don't get it. What are you saying? Like, why is it greed? They're making money off things you voluntarily buy. Like, I don't know. What, do you want to set it on fire? Like, Gabe Joker Newell? What the fuck are you talking about? It'll be my turn to repost this again next week. Yeah, indeed. So, I don't know, man. It's like right now, the discourse around this game is fucking trash. It's absolute trash. And people aren't engaging with it in the right way. They're not making sensible points. They don't understand how it works or why Valve think the way they do. And here's the thing, like, yes, they need to work on an anti-cheat solution. They need to improve VAC. I believe they're doing that. Remember, there was going to be some sort of announcement about cheating or anti-cheat measures bundled into the original CS2 announcement. For whatever reason, they haven't done that. They haven't broke with tradition by talking about it. I think they need to. Again, I think another fair criticism of Valve is their say-nothing model is anachronistic in the modern era. You are effectively offering games as a live service. You need to be able to talk to the community about where it's headed, what a roadmap looks like, and manage expectations. And if you're not going to do that, then yeah, people are going to get pissed off. It's every other games company does it. Even the worst ones do it. So you have to start doing it, and they need a community manager. That's where I've landed at. I think many of these issues, these stupid diatribes based on the fucking voices in a Redditor's head, would stop if they would hire a community manager who would engage with the community and manage expectations without even having to set hard deadlines or any of that bullshit. But ultimately, the game is going to get to a place where it's going to feel like a good Counter-Strike title. It's going to look good. It's going to be future-proof. We're going to get rid of some of all the legacy code issues. It's going to have content. Hopefully, the subtick system actually revolutionizes how we play FPS games. And I trust in Valve because they have always been able to sculpt a statue of David from the fucking marble. They've done it time and time again. And I'm not out on Valve as a company yet. I got a Steam Deck. It's fucking great. Their VR stuff, I've tried one of them on. It's fucking great. There's a level of... even the things that fail are fucking great. Like that OS thing for your fucking TV. You know, like... And the controller they made, it just didn't take off. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just a Betamax, you know? Like, they are a company that do care, and they are a company that do put a level of polish into their projects. And this is going to be no different. But we got to be patient. And as I've said multiple times, one of the things that will make developers not want to keep working on stuff is if they read that garbage. Because that garbage is garbage. It is not a fair, valid criticism. It's not pointing out bugs or flaws that they can go and work on. They do read Reddit. It's evident and Twitter, because every time someone tweets about something, or every time someone posts about something, if it's a bug, they fix it. They do it in Dota too. Like, literally, people will cry, this is broken, this interaction happens, and it gets fixed, it gets patched. So the criticism has to be grounded in reality. And the reality is, all the money in the world is not going to give them a team of 50 people that know all the inner workings of Source 2 so they can make CS2 as amazing as CSGO was, which none of you even believe because you spend all the time crying about CSGO and begging for the release of CS2, you disingenuous fucks.